So let's talk about Project Scorpio. We just got the tech specs that were dropped this week for that. And it's interesting that Microsoft is really trying to make a play to revive the Xbox One brand. That seemed like the play that they were making. Like, they came out and kind of apologized for the Xbox One and like...
Yeah, well, one of the things that they mentioned was that the Xbox 360 had one of the best relationships with developers that I think Microsoft has had as far as the consoles go.
Right.
And they said that with the Xbox One, they basically destroyed those relationships in like a 2-year timeline. So going ahead with the Project Scorpio, that was their main goal, to bring developers back to us, to make a system that when you looked at it as a developer, it's like, holy shit, that's where we need to be. Those are the tools that we want to be working with.
Well, and it's a good idea to try to bring those developers back, but as you see with someone like Square Enix, some of those bridges are burned.
Yeah.
It's true. I mean, the thing is, you know, like how once you're frustrated with the way that a company runs, just having new hardware is not going to be the thing that digs you out of the hole.
That's the question, is what actually made the developers leave? Was it that the Xbox One was a inferior system to the PS4? Or
I mean,
was it more about your business?
It was pretty comparable in terms of hardware specs. The Xbox One and PS4, you know, weren't that drastically different from each other.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it makes me wonder for sure, like, was this a issue where, where developers weren't happy with the hardware that they were working on, or were they not happy with Microsoft as a company?
Yeah, and if it is the latter, then I think Microsoft has a very, very tough road ahead of them. A few things that were outlined. A lot of people have been asking, you know, is Scorpio technically like the next gen or not? They said that no, they do not consider the Scorpio the next gen. It's an upgraded version of the Xbox One, so it's basically their answer to the PS4 Pro, which here's my question now. Scorpio comes out this holiday season. PS4 Pro's been out for a while now.
Yeah.
Have the console... Like, I know we don't really refer to them as like the console wars anymore, but are they just done trying to release these things in competition of
roughly the same time?
After the beating that Microsoft took at the year that they... Because, you know what? And actually, this talking about this kind of jogged my memory. That whole, like, disc exclusive thing that they were trying to do, ruining the aftermarket of secondhand games, that may have actually done a whole lot of damage with developers because it burned a lot of bridges with gamers, that's for sure. And it allowed Sony to really just lay into Microsoft and box their ears at whatever E3 press conference that was. So, I think that you're going to see Microsoft definitely a little bit more gun-shy about the way that they end up going toe-to-toe.
Can you imagine, like, behind the scenes in boardrooms, how devastating that blow must have been to where they're like, all right, you know what? That's it. We're not releasing our shit at the same time as them anymore.
Well, if they had tried to go up against the PS4 Pro, they'd also been going straight up against the PSVR as that was launching too.
Yeah, that's a good point. And they don't have any kind of answer for the VR stuff.
Yeah.
At all.
Oh, come on, man. Eagle Flight?
Eagle Flight.
Star Trek Bridge Commander.
But I don't. None of that was compatible with Xbox One. All of that was games for Windows Live and played over like an Oculus Rift or something.
And I'm pretty sure that those two titles are even available on PlayStation anyhow. Right. One of the things that was said, and this is a direct quote, the decision to release a new, more powerful version of the Xbox One was also influenced by the hardware iteration model established by the mobile phone industry. They said that people don't want to wait for the newest thing, and they want that to be the new business model, is getting them the newest thing faster. And they also like the idea of how basically when you get a new phone, it's a seamless transfer. You pick up your new phone, all of your stuff transfers over. You don't have to worry about going through the hassle of all of that.
Right.
And so they weren't super clear on that, but the fact that almost everything that worked with the Xbox One works with the Scorpio. Your games are going to play, your controllers are going to play. I think the only thing that you need an additional adapter for is the Kinect Eye. Is that what it's called? the camera, whatever the camera is
The
for
Kinect.
the Xbox One. Yeah, the Kinect.
And now I'm going to tell you exactly what's wrong with that perspective. But if you want to call in, Final Encountercast on Skype, 810-207-1764. If you want to talk about Scorpio or anything, we'll get to Frank here in just a second.
Frank.
But the problem with that is the reason that the cell phone industry is able to sustain that model is because you have networks coming in and floating at least some portion of the cost of those phones.
Had I paid for my S7 out the door, that's like $700.
That's right.
And that ain't happening.
Instead, I think I'm paying $300 over 2 years.
Right, exactly. And I think that's the critical thing that they're overlooking is like GameStop's not going to sign you up to a credit card or some sort of subscription service to get their back end made and be able to subsidize a portion of your game console. That's never going to happen. I don't see a way that happens. And unless Microsoft can figure out a way to subsidize it, I don't think this whole model, this model that they've laid out of, well, people are going to want to upgrade, quicker and have these sort of like mid cycles in between your next console generation. As long as PCs exist and have the modular nature that they do, you're able to swap out the RAM, you're able to swap out the video card, you're able to upgrade it as you go until that either ends or consoles start becoming more modular. I don't see how
You don't think gamers are going to want to spend $500-$600 every 2 years for a new console?
No, I fucking don't.
So here's my question then, because based obviously on that and the fact that if this doesn't bring developers back to back to Microsoft, I think that what we mentioned earlier about how maybe the reason that they left was, business relations rather than the hardware they're working with. Again, this is going to be a bad road for Microsoft going forward. But until we know that for sure, does Sony respond to this?
No, Sony is winning.
You think they can wait this out and see how it goes before they make a decision?
Oh, absolutely. They lean on the PS4 Pro and the PSVR. I mean, really lean on the VR because that's something that Microsoft doesn't have. It's something that Nintendo doesn't have. And, with Nintendo just putting out the Switch and it having no VR support and ostensibly no VR support for the future, that's probably not going to even be a lane that they're going to be looking at. And Sony, in terms of VR products, has the best potential lineup of games. So if you lean into that heavy, I think that Sony has got a very clear path for their next 3 to 5 years. And then you're starting to look at the PlayStation 5, if that's even something that we're going to be looking at. Because at the same time, we've pushed graphics to this photorealistic point where it's like, it's almost becoming like, why fucking bother?
Going even further with it? Yeah.
I mean, you're going to start hitting Uncanny Valley territory really, really quickly.
Massively.
And the thing is like, you can't, if you can't manage the number of variables and the amount of programming and coding and world building that it already takes with the tools that we have, given Unreal 4 and all of these different engines, then if you increase the polygon count, how much are you really increasing? Like, you're increasing somebody's workload too.
Yeah, as a gamer, I'm at the point now where, especially with stuff like Horizon, game is beautiful. We can stop there. Now start spending more money on giving me more gameplay, more story, more. And that's the thing is the technology is at a point. It's so increased to a point that it's like, can we concentrate on painting a good product with the palette that you're given instead of constantly replacing the colors? Well, regardless of what we think of Microsoft or the Xbox as a product, what they have with the Scorpio is still a pretty impressive piece of hardware. They are boasting that currently this is the most powerful gaming console ever created, outperforming even the PS4 Pro. So let's see, it says the Scorpio was able to run a Forza Motorsport demo at 60 frames per second in seemingly native 4K with graphical settings at an Xbox One equivalent level. 1 terabyte hard drive space, 12 gigabytes of GDDR5 memory, which is the same that the PS4 has, the GDDR5, but Sony only uses 8. Now that 12 gigabyte is split, 8 gigabytes is accessible to developers, and 4 is reserved for system use. Compared to the Xbox One, it only had 8, which was 5 for devs and 3 for system use. So That's gotta be attractive, right?
Yeah.
That's quite an increase.
But still, though, you look at the specs of this versus any PC, and you go, well.
True.
I mean, if you've got the budget, dump it into a PC, and you know that's going to be better than any of those consoles will be until the next round of consoles.
We know that as the PC master race, but there is obviously still a huge contingent of people out there, the console only guys who either don't want to put the time and effort into building a PC, or they don't have any use for it outside of just playing games, in which case they just want to stick with the whole plug-and-play model that consoles bring to the table.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually finally got a guy I worked with to build his own PC.
But you know what? Then I think that those are going to be the same people that aren't as concerned about graphics processing power, or how many gigs of RAM there are. That's true. The more you try to focus on better technology, I think the more you're skirting that line with, well, it might as well just be a PC. That's right. Yeah, and you're trying to appeal to what seems like a PC crowd at that point.
Yep. It seems like they're trying to make a big show with the whole, it's going to run all the Xbox One games, guys. Better without the need for patches, too. Apparently that everything should look better and crispier on the Scorpio without the need for patches. The only exception is anything that's capped at, let's say, 30 frames per second won't get the 60 unless you patch it to do so, since they're locked right there.
All right.
GPU is 4.6 times better than the Xbox One. Combined with a faster CPU, you get higher frame rate, more stability, no screen tearing, and faster loads. And the game DVR also lets you capture 4K, 60 frames per second, HDR gameplay, and will also allow you to scrub through there for the best screenshots.
Okay. I mean, I guess. I'm not, for all of the, screenshots and game capture features that the PS4 has, I don't use it hardly at all.
Yeah, me either. Honestly.
Yeah.
Phil Spencer, which, by the way, I actually Googled around to make sure I got what his position was, his actual professional title.
What's his title?
Head of Xbox.
Okay.
Head of, not like VP or president of Xbox, just head of Xbox.
Okay. Well, what'd he say?
The leader of
he says, he's unsure if Microsoft will show off the system before E3 in June. He also said that it is critical for first-party games to be ready at launch.
Okay.
So it's launching this holiday season. I wonder if they have anything lined up yet. The fact that he's it's critical we have them, but they don't really have any names
and then all they show off is Forza. I mean, I would imagine that they'll probably end up rolling out a big line of games around E3. I mean, I would hope that they've brushed up their E3 presentation.
Maybe they'll take a page out of Sony's book and have a super awesome, cool, theater with a live band presentation. That was so cool.
Their sizzle reel presentation, you mean?
So good, man.
Yeah. I doubt it.
Yeah. Probably.
Microsoft doesn't have quite that attention to detail, it seems. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think that this, could be okay. I'm not going to buy one. This does not sell me on
not
it.
for $500
no,
either, man.
hell no.
Oh.
Well,
that's a big price point.
The tech specs are never going to sell anyone on anything. I got to see what's on it. Why do I care what the RAM is or what the CPU in it is?
Well, yeah, because when it comes down to it, I mean, how many exclusives does the PS4 still have over the Xbox?
Right.
Because that's what sells me. It's
right.
the exclusives that you have. And guess what? I know you're not going to have the FF7 remake. You're probably not even going to have Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah. Well,
you can't even
I don't
get
think anyone's getting Kingdom Hearts.
Okay, that's fair.
Let's go to our phone lines and talk to Frank, who wants to talk about Scorpio. What's up, Frank?
Yeah, I got it here. Hello, how you doing? How you doing, guys?
Good. Thanks for calling Final Encountercast. What's up?
You're going to have to pay the trolls toll if you want to get into these boys' souls.
Boys' holes.
Yeah.
What's
nice
up?
Reference to Always Sunny. That's always good.
Oh, that wasn't a funny one.
But yeah, on the Scorpio issue, they kind of let those Digital Foundry bros access it and everything. They still couldn't really talk much about it, but I mean, honestly, it kind of reminds me of the PS3 days. You know what I'm saying? Where it was like $600 for the thing, and then everyone was like, "Oh, there's not enough," and then they get the game, and then there's no games for it, and then and the only time you're gonna enjoy it is with Forza or a few other games. Not that there's anything wrong with it. Oh, and you need a 4K television. I don't really think there's a huge market right now for You have to have hardware to match hardware and software. You can't just stick like a Scorpio.
Yeah, no, I think
PS4 Pro.
I think you touch on a few points there. Is first of all, how many games are going to be coming out that actually utilize it to its full potential? And then secondly, needing like a 4K TV to get a lot of it. Although they did mention that they are still going to cater to the 1080p users. So I feel like Microsoft has recently been setting this trend, and it started with E3 last year when they're like, hey, anything that you buy for the Xbox, you also get for Windows 10. So as a gamer who doesn't have an Xbox now, I feel like everything they do is like, this is what we're coming out with, but don't worry, we're still going to cater to everyone else too. So,
I mean, I really do. I do sort of feel like they've definitely split their market with the games on Xbox Live and making sure that most everything that comes out for the Xbox One is also compatible with games for Windows Live. It makes it really feel like, what is I have a PC, and the thing is a lot of times PC gamers will also own at least one of the consoles.
Yeah.
Like console gamers will oftentimes go for 2, but if you're part of the PC master race, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that you probably also have at least one of the consoles, so that you don't get passed by on a lot of these good console exclusive games.
Yep.
And the way it's set up, it's like if you have a PC that you're keeping up to date, there is no good reason to pick Xbox One over PS4 as your one console that you're going to maintain.
That's exactly right. And it's fine if Microsoft wants to try to look at both of those markets as the same, but when you're pushing hardware, I think that's a really difficult task, because you're splitting your audience right down the middle. Frank, you got any? Okay, there you are. All right. What's up?
Oh, yeah, sorry. I was just saying that, the thing about PC is that there's nothing wrong with PC, and even nowadays it's a lot more transition, or you could plug in any console controller now and use, like, third-party software and run it on a computer and then get it going, and then be like, and with Steam it just automatically works. I'm just using Steam as an example, but you can just plug it in and bam. You don't need to set any keys. It'll be the same keys as it was on a console.
Yeah.
That's what I like nowadays. I mean, beforehand, everyone's like, I got to set these,
Update your drivers.
In a lot of instances, you don't even need to have a wire running from your controller to your PC anymore. That once you sync it, that it'll wirelessly sync. Like, for example, PS4 controllers, all PS4 controllers run off of Bluetooth. And so as long as you've got Bluetooth capabilities in your PC, you can connect to a PlayStation 4 controller remarkably easily. It's that kind of stuff that really does, kind of take a shot out of the idea of I've got to own, more than one console, or I've got to, it does undercut that whole concept. Frank, thanks for the call. We appreciate hearing from you, and we would appreciate any other calls at Final Encountercast on Skype, 810-207-1764.
Can you imagine what it would be like if you couldn't use a controller on PC? Dark Souls would be a console must, because playing that game on keyboard and mouse is
impossible.
untenable.
It's terrible.
On, you babies.
No.
There are people who have beat it using a DDR pad.
That's true.
Who have used it beating a Guitar Hero guitar.
I would rather the Guitar Hero guitar.
Step up your game.
It is quite possibly the worst mapped game in history when it got ported to the PC.
Yeah, it's awful.
It really is. Because I've tried to do a key remap on that, and it's
didn't work out.
Boy, is it a pain in the dick. No, it did. I mean, it did. It took a considerable amount of time and effort. What? Were you going to say something?
I was going to segue us into this next little part here.
Okay, then.
Yeah. All right. So when the Scorpio was first announced, a lot of people, the way that it was talked about, thought that Microsoft might have been working towards like a modular console concept, right? So that way, instead of just buying a whole new console every couple of years, you're upgrading it as you go. No, apparently it couldn't be further from that. Phil Spencer, he said, the idea that users will open up a console and change computer components inside seems like a stretch to me. He says that there's something special about buying a console and knowing you just have to plug and play. So I think that reinforces the idea that the people that at least he's aiming to go after are those console users that either are that they look at a computer and they're intimidated by it, that, they don't want to have to go through all the crap of trying to build one themselves, and they'd rather just go out, buy something, plug it in. I mean, a lot of parents, I think, even fall into that nowadays, too.
Sure. Well,
that's the easiest thing to do.
At first, it didn't seem like a big deal at all to me, but then I realized, I've been building computers since I was 10.
Yeah.
It doesn't, the idea of opening my computer is just second nature. I guess there's a lot of people out there who have never done anything like that.
If it intimidates you, apparently there is a new game that will help you build your PC that you want. Like it's like a virtual PC builder.
That's cool.
It's called Ransomware, and then you have to play an Animu game for a while.
No.
So here's my thing, though. When this first broke, the idea of like a modular console, a lot of people were like, well, why don't you just get a computer at that point, right? And you're right. The closer that you get to being able to basically, insert a new graphics card, take out the old one, put in a new one, blah, 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 you are getting closer and closer to it. And what's the point of that? So in my mind, what I thought, which would have been, I think, more groundbreaking, is if they developed an upgradable console with the idea in mind, not that it would be taken apart and opened up just like a computer is, but developed in a way that it is easy to do that. That you don't have to worry about, unscrewing and opening up and looking at all those components, that you could just plug and play stuff, right?
Slide out the RAM.
I don't know if you guys remember,
but that's almost how it is. Like, I mean, it is that easy. You do just slide out the RAM and pop in new ones.
Well, yes, but when you open it up and look at it, that again, people who've never done it, that's not what they see.
It looks intimidating.
Yeah,
if it's just like,
imagine plugging in like a cartridge slot in the back. Boom. That's where that goes, and it's
I understand, and look, and I get it. And after spending $500, $600 or whatever it is on the new component that you're putting in, it can be a little bit nerve-wracking. I understand that, but the thing is and I think Infinity Fox said it very well. You can't sell people a $700 gimped computer every 2 years.
No, you can't.
That business model does not work. And if they thought that no one bought the original Xbox One or that sales were underwhelming for that, I got news for you. The market hasn't changed very much.
No.
And I think that you're chasing... you're chasing this new hardware ideal that I think Frank put it very well. There's not enough 4K TVs out there to really justify something like this.
Best case scenario, all right, you bring the Scorpio out and you have a great lineup of exclusive games right off the top. Maybe the Scorpio sells well. 2 years down the line, whatever your second one is, though, I think that's when you start to see the decline. People buy the Scorpio, maybe they're happy with it, maybe they're not, but when the second one comes out, they're not ready for a new console yet.
Yeah.
And because all of your games, allegedly, are going to work from console to console to console, there's no reason to buy the new one at that point.
Okay, so all of us in this room are gamers that decided this current generation we're skipping Microsoft. Does anything in here say, oh, well, this is a reason that I need to own an Xbox One Scorpio?
Not even.
Not one. No. There's not one compelling reason.
Anyone in the chat, if you are pro Microsoft or pro Scorpio, could you call us up and let us know why, please?
Well, let's go back to our phone lines real quick and talk to Volkai. Volkai, what's up, man?
Hey, so apparently I'm the person you just wanted from the chat.
Oh, good.
But
sell us on it then.
First, I want to jump back a couple topics real quick. You were talking about how Microsoft started doing iterative hardware in the same model as cell phones, and you mentioned the pricing. Microsoft, about 4 years ago, actually adopted the monthly payment for a console plan along with Xbox Live. You could buy an Xbox 360 and get Xbox Live Gold for, if I remember correctly, it was $25 a month. So that is something that they've done.
Okay, now is that something that you'd have to do through Microsoft if you went to GameStop or to Walmart and you wanted to pick up your console there?
That was something that they did exclusively through the Microsoft stores, as far as I know.
Okay.
Yeah.
That would, for it to be done through GameStop, it would have to be GameStop doing that. And as far as I know, GameStop doesn't really offer any sort of payment programs like that.
Yeah, but
that would be a GameStop thing. Microsoft has no say on if GameStop does that or not.
Right.
The thing about the cell phone model is that's a very well established model. That's a long-standing model that these cell phone providers have been doing since before cell phone hardware mattered, right? Like they had worked out that deal in the very primordial days of cell phone service, where they were.
Even cell phones have changed the way they do it.
Absolutely,
they've all gone from you get the phone for $100 for a $700 phone to you're paying $30 a month for your phone.
Right. It's more of like a rental charge. So,
Yeah.
when you consider that kind of stuff, I think that Microsoft has got a very big uphill battle here. I don't see anyone. I don't see the market force at play here.
Yeah, like what you have to realize is whether or not the Scorpio itself is a good product or not, people already aren't really buying or standing next to your product, and all that you've shown me is that you want to come out with it more often. How is coming out with it more often going to incentivize me to buy something that I'm already not buying?
Yeah, and on the idea of using the cell phone model, like the idea of paying $30 a month for my console is not appealing to me.
No.
Dear Lord.
I mean, you're at the point culturally where subscription fatigue is a big thing. Like everyone's sick of, I get hit for, I think it's like somewhere around like $60 a month between between Netflix and Final Fantasy 14 and all of these different Hulu and Amazon
Gym membership.
all of these little things that just keep hitting you every month, and at some point people are going to start paring the stuff down. They're going to go, well, maybe I don't really watch Hulu that much, or maybe I don't need the HBO subscription because I can either wait or I don't care enough.
Or Game of Thrones isn't coming out right now.
That too. Yeah. No, that's a really big one. Volkai, thanks for the call. We appreciate hearing from you.